The gods of Megaros laid claim to the north, seeing that it was untainted by the wilds, and that it was tamed by man, but the people did not love them. To gain the people's favor, they gave them gifts, the grandest of which would obtain the worship of the city and, for a time, be their patron. The three of you make your way towards the High Council meeting. The day has come to enter the pavilion of the Grand Council. The circular building is held up by columns, within which are tiered rings filled with seats for the representatives of the Senate. The dome above has a muraled concave. Only you realize that the thrones of the gods painted atop scenic skies host living, breathing deities looking down on the meeting. The clouds shown are from distant skies in their azure glory. As you step in, you are welcomed by Hector, who is the person who invited you to this meeting. And he says, "Welcome, welcome. Come here, stand by me." And you are directed to stand near his seat to be called up at a later date, or at a later time, rather.
I look at my party members and I kind of give a skeptical look, but I say okay, and I follow him and do as he says.
Stools are brought to be placed near his seat, and you are directed to sit for a while. The council speaks one at a time as people get up to state their cases and to bring up various things to be discussed amongst the Senate. The one speaking currently is Athanasios, who is describing to the Senate the state of the Adventurers Guild and how this guild from the Outlands could be thrown out of the city in favor of hosting their own guild of heroes who can slay monsters. And you can see as several of the members of the Senate nod their heads in approval as he speaks about breaking the deal that they have with the Adventurers Guild. And Hector leans into you and says, "It is an interesting situation. The guild was founded very early on in Magterra. It is older than most organizations. Do they have it where you're from?"
I am going to assume they don't, right? Because we're not already in one, right?
Yeah, they have one in Leyland.
Yeah, I was gonna say,
not in the steppes where you're from.
Okay. Well, I had said. So Tamir says, not to my knowledge, though. I don't know much about Leyland. Kind of looking towards Altani.
Tani nods and says, "There most definitely is the Adventurers Guild in Leyland. I myself had not joined as of when we left, but I was familiar with some of their adventurers."
He nods and says, "Some of our own join the guild, but it is rare that we have visitors from the south. You are one of the few who have ventured to cross the Sea of Fire to join us here in Megaros. I think that you are perhaps a rare lot." And he...
Altani definitely gives like some side eye to both Anya and Tamir, like I don't like how he's talking about us. Kind of
I don't know. Tamir is like a little happy golden retriever. The praise, he's loving the praise. He's eating it up.
The Fae aren't from, or the Fae don't have those kind of things, I imagine, right?
The Fae Courts, they have actually the Adventurers Guild there as well. In all of the major cities, they have the Adventurers Guild.
So they might not have like other guilds necessarily.
Not necessarily their own guilds. The Adventurers Guild was founded in another city entirely and spread across Magterra.
Well, I just mean like not every city's gonna have an Assassin's Guild and a thieves guild.
Correct.
Okay.
Yeah, the Adventurers Guild is definitely the most prolific, and I would say that the fairy societies don't tend to form guilds.
Yeah, that's why I was curious. But they do have that one at least.
Yes, yeah, and it is all one guild across Magterra. This idea that Megaros would found their own version of it in the area is certainly not common. If they were to throw the
Vicious.
Adventurers Guild out of the city, that would be like a big deal in all of Magterra.
It would be a first, basically.
Throughout the what guild?
Throw out the Adventure Guild.
Yeah, I heard Emperor's Guild, and I was like, I don't know what that is.
It's a very small guild, let me tell you.
Comprised of one member at any. Yeah.
Yeah, but he does moderate the quality of his own product.
And then, does it seem like the guy? What's his name again?
Hector. Or the one speaking, Athanasios.
The hot guy from the spa.
That's Hector.
Okay. Is he talking more to them or kind of to all of us?
To all of us.
He's talking. So Athanasios is speaking to the Senate. Hector is whispering to you guys while he's talking.
Okay.
And in fact, as he finishes talking to you, he looks forward at Athanasios, and you can see this like predatorial look, like he's ready to pounce. And as soon as Athanasios is done speaking, he stands up and says, "My dear members of the Senate, I would like to state a counterproposal to Athanasios. Well, our businesses are quite fine in Megaros. They don't often have the opportunity to sell our fine wares beyond our own borders. I think Megaros would do well on a more grand stage." And he gestures to you and says, "Would you please step forward, my new friends?" And he calls you to the center of the room, beneath the gods and the Senate.
Okay,
Wait, how high up are the gods? Is it like
The columns are about 20 feet tall, and the concave is quite steep to where the gods seem to be sitting far above you, almost 30 feet in the air. And the way it's depicted, it seems like even then they're afar off, where their station is elevated somewhere above the roof itself, so that they appear to be looking down on you from the sky.
okay? Just because I was thinking it'd be funny if one of us like chucked an olive up to whatever our patron god's name is.
Vespera is there. you notice that she is sitting in her own seat. And it takes you a second to recognize her because she is not currently showing herself in her true form. She appears to be on the older end of a teenage girl, perhaps 16 or 17. So she appears young, but not the child that you know her as.
Tamir definitely kind of has this moment of recognizing her. But he, as he looks towards her, he bows his head a little bit, giving her some reverence as he steps into the center of the room.
She is largely stoic currently, but she gives you a very slight nod of acknowledgement back. And as you look at the impassive gods around her, you get the feeling that that is a grand gesture in this setting.
I reach back with one of my hands to gesture to Altani, like, please come up here. I'm panicking.
Altani definitely. I feel like she. Okay. I feel like she reaches over and takes Anya's hand and steps forward to stand next to Tamir and definitely holds on to Anya's hand. I feel like in her head she's like, okay, we're gonna stand in solidarity and you're not gonna play any trickery right now. I'm holding onto your hand. I feel like you can't do magic without your hand. So I'm holding it. I've got like a vice grip on your hand.
He just looks at it like,
okay.
Confused, like, why are you touching me? It doesn't say.
Her fingers like interlocked with yours, stepping up towards Tamir. And she puts a hand in between Tamir's shoulders, and I feel like he feels a threat from the hand between his shoulders. You know what I mean? Where it's like when she maybe when they were younger, she would put her hand on his back where so that she could, if she needed to, grab the back of his neck and redirect him somewhere else. I feel like it's the threat of 100%. I will drag your butt out of here if necessary. But it kind of to the rest of the room, it looks like we're a very loving little band of
very
people.
Supportive siblings.
Yes.
But deep down, Tamir is terrified. That is the icy hand of death, as far as he's
concerned. Yes.
Wait, actually, I wouldn't back and change my reaction when you give my hand a death grip, just to mess with you even more because you don't want me to screw around. I'm like. Acting all flattered, wow, she's holding my hand.
Oh, wow. Altani, okay, this is the last descriptor I'll give before she actually starts talking, but she's definitely giving you that yes, I'm smiling and I'm trying to kill you with my eyeballs. And she turns towards Hector and speaks in your place, Tamir. And says, we are from lands far away. We are traders ourselves, and we have crossed the desert of fire. However, and she turns and looks directly. You can hear as you say that,
as people begin murmuring to each other all across the room, or the building. Rather.
However, she cuts her eyes over to look at Hector directly, because she was not a part of the conversation earlier, and she does not like this guy. So she's trying to pin him with her eyes. She's like, however, I will say it was due to many lucky factors that we were able to cross it ourselves, and I do not know that a larger party than ours would have been able to survive as we did, even crossing in the winter, and having a guide as skilled as my younger brother here.
Hector nods and says, so you see what I have seen. Opportunity. And he gestures to the room. He circles as he says it on the sunken dais that is the speaking platform for the Speaker of the House. And he says, "This is opportunity for a different kind of expansion than Megaros has been looking for. And I think it can better help the city itself." And as he turns and turns, you can see as he turns towards you that he glances up nervously at the gods above, and despite all his bravado, that he is not unaffected by their gaze. And he says, "This hollow expansion of territory does nothing for us here in the city. As borders grow, our wealth is spread farther and farther. But we could expand our wealth here in the city if we trade, particularly with the cities of Leyland and the city of Carador. They possess many treasures that we do not, that could improve our living here. All we need is those who can travel the ways." And he says, "These fine folk, adventurers from afar, could be the ticket to being able to do such a thing."
Altani steps forward a little bit, kind of inadvertently pulling along Tamir and Anya with her, and says, "Senator, I do not wish to be rude. However, I would remind you again, we nearly died, a party of only a handful. We would not be able to bring the kind of trading caravans you think of across the Sea of Fire. There is Arhu in the Sea of Fire, obviously. Again, I am not trying to downplay my brother's skills. He is a skilled survivalist. However, you are thinking of much larger parties. People going in that scale are highly likely to perish. I fear you would lose more people than you would in your expansion," she says, and she's like cutting her eyes over to Tamir, like, "Hey, take note of what they're talking about. Hey."
Hector waves a dismissive hand at you and says, "You misunderstand me. All we need is you." And he gestures to the three of you.
Anya kind of looks around like, "Who, me?" Because she's like, "I don't know anything about any of this. I'm just..."
Tamir snaps out of his dreams of raiding this city with his father and his people. Just long enough to understand what's going on. And and seeing or hearing what Hector just said, he says, I'm willing to hear the rest of your proposal, as I'm sure the rest of the Senate is as well.
Yeah. A woman stands up, and she says, and you can read. There's a plaque beneath her that has her name on it. It's Dionysia, and she says, Yes, Hector, what exactly are you proposing? That we send these three with a handful of goods to the south and see if they want them? And Hector says, you degrade the value of our goods. We have many fine craftsmen here in the city, finer than any in Magterra. We are blessed thoroughly by the gods. These blessings and these accomplishments would fetch a great price to the south. We have fine workers capable of building the best roads in Magterra. All we need is those who can establish such a trail for the ground to be laid for these grand roads to the south.
Anya interjects and is like, do you know if they want your goods and fancy roads in the south?
Hector gives you a grimace, and Daenerys says, another man from the Senate stands. This is an interesting proposal. Yes, we could establish meetings with those from the south to determine whether or not a deal could be made for the exchange of goods.
I do pipe up and say something. And I say, assuming that roads are laid down, are you prepared to face possible raiding from peoples of the South? I don't know if they know how, well, that raiding has been going on in the South, This might be news to them. But
Athanasios, the man from before, speaks up and says, young man, whatever squabbles happen in the south, the might of Megaros is something that is unparalleled in all of Magterra.
As he's saying this, Tamir looks at his hands. Are they calloused?
Athanasios?
Yeah.
They are.
Okay. Tamir sees the calluses and considers for a moment that he may be correct. But he definitely...
That idea, because it's stupid.
Yeah, well, first off, I don't agree. But he's clearly a man of hard work. And so, respect.
Yeah. In addition to the calluses on his hand, he bears a scar that goes across his jaw. And the drape of his clothes reveals that he likely has more scars going down his chest and back.
Amir gives him a nod and says, of course. A slight bow and says, of course. Resumes shutting up.
Hector looks, finally speaks to Anya, and he addresses the entire Senate as he does, but He says, I find it hard to believe that our wares would not be welcomed in the South.
Anya's like, she says, I'm all for it. Just figured it would be kind of a bummer if you built all these fancy roads and wasted all your time and money just to get there and then be like, we're more sophisticated than you, or something. Not saying that they truly are, but just, you know, people can be prideful and think their ways are best, and then you wasted all your time and money. And I personally don't feel like getting my wings singed by the sun if I don't have to.
Hector looks unkindly on your statements, and you can see that many of the Senate shares the sentiment. And another man stands up and says, Who is this woman who thinks she knows so much about us? Why have you invited her here, Hector? And Hector forestalls him with his upraised hands and says, their tongues are untamed, but it is expected. These are people of the wilds. They do not share the same civilities that we do, but they do traverse land like we cannot. And you notice a flicker of his eyes upwards towards the gods as he worries slightly that his praise of outlanders and wilders might be looked on as unfavorable by the gods. But they continue their impassive stares, and he forges forward and says, these wilders could be the ticket, the key to more refined cities all across the land, including our own. The gold from Corridor will serve us well. It is easy for crafting and valuable amongst all cities. The pinnacles from Leyland and the heavenly dew, the sweet nectar of the mountain. These are things that we could benefit from at the small price of our excess. And he turns to Daenerys, who says, is it not true that with these other grand cities that stand, albeit beneath us, to some degree in might and wealth particularly, could you not expand your trade, Daenerys, southward? Daenerys nods, and you can see that his words are having an effect on the Senate. What would you like to say, Aaron? Or Tamir, I guess. What would Tamir like to say?
Tamir, hearing this discussion, thinks back to the majesty of Leyland. And even though he sees quite, the majesty of Megaros is also beautiful. But he definitely can see that they do not truly understand the value in Leyland. He leans over to Altani and says, this could be potentially big for us, for creating trade for our people, and it could be potentially great for Leyland to continue to prosper.
Can I ask a question before you respond?
Yeah.
Would it be rude to like make
Go
a
up, basically.
to what?
Oh no, sorry. Sorry, you
I was
continue.
gonna say to fly. I just kind of forgot that I had wings until like halfway through this conversation. So I was like,
So obviously, time to use them now.
no, I was thinking, well, because when I originally asked, it'd be funny if I could chuck something up to, what's her name again? Vespa.
Era.
Vespa.
Vespera.
Yes, the scooter god. Vespa. Um, and so now I'm just thinking, oh yeah, I could just fly up there, and I just thought it'd be funny if I like had a little, like, thing, parcel, whatever, of olives, and go up there and be like, just in case you're as bored as I am, and like gave her a little snack and like fly back down, because they keep looking at the gods like they're so fearful of them and like
They should be. They're gods.
hang on, so fearful of them and like, especially when he looked up like worried that he had complimented us. I just thought it'd be funny to be like, oh look, we're actually on like friendly terms with the gods, so I don't know what you're cowering and groveling about, but like we're chill.
From what
Just
you've seen of Vespera, you couldn't imagine it being a problem with her, but there are 12 other gods in the circle, and some of them look less friendly, for certain. Even now, though, I will say that even now Vespera does not look friendly. She looks intimidating. Go ahead and roll an insight check for me.
We'll also say Altani is holding onto your hand for expressly this purpose. She definitely would not just let you like go.
Fly off.
Yeah, exactly.
What is it? Is it this one?
Yeah. You really have plus 0?
I got an 18.
Nice.
Plus 0.
Looking up, you can feel the weight of the majesty of the gods. And while many of them are putting on a persona of stoic majesty, standing towering more than they might otherwise, there are certainly many of the gods that you think would not hesitate. You can see it in their eyes. They would not hesitate to lash out at anyone in this room if provoked.
Lame.
Altani, in response to what Tamir asked, and she's definitely looking over at you as well, Anya. So I don't want to like cut you off from input.
No.
But Altani is definitely like drawing you both in closer, like to kind of huddle here and be like, listen, this would be great for us business-wise, but one, we have to consider the fact that we would be getting awfully close to our father's territory again, and we just got away from him. And two, the other thing to consider is what happens when they start treating all of those roads they created as their territory that they govern and expand outward into these other people's land? What happens to the wilders that live in these areas? What happens to the actual big cities that start getting mad about them having all this turf in the middle of the Sea of Fire going out towards Leyland? How do we get caught up in the middle of that?
These are great points, Altani. I can't foresee everything that would happen. I can't, I don't know the future, but what I do know is that if our people are going to make it, they're going to need to shift industries from the raiding they currently do to something more stable. I'm not saying that this is the only way. We can reject this guy. We can not do this. And I will listen to you. as you're my senior. But I think that this could potentially give us a way to establish ourselves and maybe even perhaps stand shoulder to shoulder with Dad.
Anya also puts in, there's nothing that says we have to continuously help. They just want us to help them get into this. But they didn't say we had to stay in. Like, once they have their roads established and all that jazz and whatever the heck else they want to do, we don't have to be involved. They just needed our help. Specifically your guys' help, because I would just be there for the ride. And like, then we could just get back to what we were doing, right?
How about we talk to the woman that you talked to in the bathhouse before we agree to anything?
While you guys discuss, you can see is two of the Senate members who have spoken before stand, Daenerys and Dionysia. They stand and they look down at Hector, who seems to nod, and with his approval, he joins the three of you on the dais. And almost as if they are doing so with planned coordination, although you are aware that it is not, the two of them walk down the steps and they circle the dais, the three of you looking to you and to the Senate and back to you. And Daenerys addresses the Senate and says, "Yes, I have faith that they have the capability to do it again. They have done it once." And he turns to Altani and says, "You said that you managed by crossing in the winter. So be it. We can wait again for the turning of the tides. And once we've reached, shall we say, the beginning of the dawn of frost, that you could traverse it once more." This would be agreeable. It would be several seasons before your journey would begin. You would have time here, time to spend the wealth I offer. And he addresses all three of you now. And he says, "50,000 pentacles each in advance for your success in this journey." Or rather, I should say, for attempting this journey. That is what I offer. However, you may need to use these payments that are given in advance for your journey and for your establishing yourselves within the city. So, while it is certainly a grand offer, account for it in your planning, that some of this will be used for your journey.
And should we actually scrap that, and I say, and we retain the right to not go if the conditions are too hazardous?
He says you retain the right to delay. To decide not to go, well, that would be failure to uphold your portion of the bargain. However, I will say that you may write wills or whatever you'd like. So if you fail to cross the desert, the money will not be rescinded. It'll go to whatever you choose.
Keep
That
your
is the faith I have.
man.
What did you say?
I said, keep your fancy wills, magic man. I need fancy words. Yeah.
Altani. Okay, go ahead.
I was just gonna say, Anya wants to say to you guys, kind of in a hushed tone so they can't really hear, like, why are they acting like they own us?
Dionysia addresses you quietly, quiet enough that you're certain that only Hector and Daenerys can hear, other than the three of you. And she says, looking you up and down, she's looking carefully back and front, circling, and says, yes, you're quite pretty for Wilders. I think you have better talents that could be used in the city.
To me?
All three of you.
Tamir.
When he clamps down on you harder, both of you. She starts moving her hand up your neck a little bit, Tamir, and she's got your finger, like your fingers are turning blue here. Anya.
Do I have? I'm assuming I don't have a weapon.
No.
You
I think we
have
specifically had to. Didn't we specifically have to leave our stuff?
I don't know if we addressed this.
I don't think we did.
I don't know that we.
Maybe I
have
just
addressed it
assumed.
prior.
I just
Yeah.
remember saying that I was dressed in something uber scandalous because of what's his face eyeing me up and down. So that's all I recall.
Yeah. So I apologize. It has been some real world time between our last two session. So I may be misremembering, but I don't think we discussed one way or another whether you had to give up your weapons. Nobody is armed in the Senate. There are some who are armed amongst the gods. But you have been permitted to keep your weapons, likely to make a show of you for Hector, as you show off yourselves as to make you look rougher and more capable.
Hearing
More
what was said to Anya and my sister Altani, Tamir
And you.
Yes,
Was including you.
I know, but
But you're offended by it being addressed to me and Anya.
yes, and I resist the urge to go for my weapon, as this is the daughter of the of my tribe's leader that they're addressing.
And your maybe boo boo.
Yes.
Are you not trying to address that you're a noble something rather?
I don't think we've brought it up. And
Yeah.
Altani doesn't plan on it, at least not right now. Doesn't
Neither
seem
do I.
like
Dionysia says,
in their best interest at the moment.
I can offer you each 30,000 parasaical pentacles for fulfilling other duties within the city. And she,
Lesser.
so it's the same currency that the other man is using, and
I thought
so
he said.
he just said pentacles.
So I was just curious if pair of pentacles meant more or less.
No, they're talking the same. So she's offering 20,000 less, but you stay in the city. You do not cross the Sea of Fire come next winter. But you would have duties within the city. She says, yes, I think that there are positions within the military you could fill as well. We have a fine military. But our scouts, well, when it comes to traversing the wilds, It is not our forte. I can acknowledge this. And she says, of all the gods I worship, those who are the most wild. And she says, I think that gives us some commonality, I think.
It's funny that as she mentions her scouts and says that, Tamir in his head says, she said that they're not good in the wilds, and in Tamir's head he said, nor will they ever be. They don't belong to you. But I ask out loud, surely we are not to make a decision in this moment.
Roll me an insight check. Any of you that would like to. And then tell me what you're most focused on.
Not Rachel. Rachel has 0 insight.
No, he said we can all do it.
Oh, okay.
We can do it. Yeah, we can do it individually for ourselves.
Yes.
I rolled a 1 that time because that's just funny. Last time I got an 18. This time I got a 1.
Anya still doesn't.
You don't know.
Yeah.
Okay.
I got
What about the
18.
other two?
And
18.
I'm specifically trying to gauge body language of the 3 closest to us to see if they become like more or less threatening or offended. That's what she's concerned about.
Does Tamir have a particular focus that you would like to state?
Yeah, I am not speaking to the 3. I am speaking to the 7. Because to me it seems, to me, and I'm a foreigner, but it seems improper to come to this kind of agreement in a public place instead of, in a tent over some mead or grog,
Okay.
We're the most.
And
rational.
what were the results that you got? I know Anya got
18.
1. 18. Oh, also 18.
I got 18.
Fortuitous.
15 plus 3, baby.
Hey, same.
Hey-oh. They have a
The-
sibling mind meld right now.
For real.
You can see as Dionysia, Daenerys, and Hector are all looking for different things. You can see it. It's written all over their faces. You, looking them over, can tell that they hold a lot of sway within the Senate, and that the 3 of them are trying to gain the edge over one another. And that this move is quite the power play by Hector, but the interesting thing is that you don't see Daenerys or Dionysia too concerned about it. It seems that while this is a major power play, that Hector's moving on something else within the city. And Daenerys and Dionysia are both looking to take their own kind of advantage of the situation. And whoever you side with amongst the 2 of them would greatly impact the political landscape of the Senate.
And neither of these other people besides Hector are the woman that
That's Dionysia?
That's Dionysia, yeah.
Dionysia, yeah.
She is the woman who made the offer.
Wait, I thought that chick she met in the spa was some like priestess.
Oh, no, that's Queen Ilia.
Oh, no. She's
Actually,
outside the Senate.
it becomes more clear who Hector is making a play against with this maneuver. as you follow his gaze to the entryway of the Senate House. And walking through is a woman you recognize. Her right eye is purple and the other is green, and they seem to glow. And she has a stately and warrior. She has a stately posture and a warrior's gait, walking with purpose through the door. And only a step behind her, a man whose left eye is purple and the other blue, likewise glowing. As he crosses the threshold, he leans against the wall and impassively waits as Queen Ilia walks forward with her spear, and she enters all the way, walking straight up to the dais, to where she's only somewhere between 8 and 5 feet from you. She holds her spear forward, and with her 2 hands snaps it in two and throws it at the floor beneath Hector. You can see as she does this and throws it at the floor, Hector has a smirk that wavers a little bit. That his cockiness is in and of itself part of this play against the diarchy. Tamir, the Senate is looking around wildly. You can see as many of them look to one another to see and try and gauge their reactions to this. And you can see as their eyes flit between others that are still in the stands and the 3 of you and the 3 Senate that stand below, and to Queen Ilia, and behind her King Varus. And you can see as they also cast their eyes up towards the gods, and you notice that 2 of the gods react to the entrance of the king and queen. And you can see as Eo and Ere have their stoic air cracked ever so slightly by the entrance of their priests. They seem to be uncertain at large as to what to do and what to make of this situation. And you can definitely read on their faces that there is still more here going on than you have heard. So like you've got a pretty good read on it, and you feel like you're still missing stuff.
Is the queen gonna say anything? Like, is she preparing to address?
She is standing there. It doesn't look like she's about to speak.
Okay.
Does anyone respond to Tamir's request to not make the decision right this moment, or are we basically getting ignored right now?
Right now, that has been completely forgotten based on this wild event.
I'm going to stand still and let this thing shake out.
Agreed.
Before we get stabbed for doing something wrong. So.
Mm-hmm. Also, as she's sensing that neither of you are moving, she is letting up her grip on both of you. She has not gone to full relaxed mode, but she's like, okay, you're not immediately going to do something idiotic. So
Anya
she's
flies out. I'm joking.
yeah, I was gonna say, of course, like right that minute, Anya would be like, all right, time to go.
Well, it's funny that you say that, because I was literally just gonna be like, Anya wants to leave.
Anya just wants to walk out the door.
She's bored and annoyed.
Hector bends down. He picks up the spear and bows, and very quietly, to where Dionysus and Daenerys might not even have heard, he says, "A spear this short seems perfect for you." And she doesn't react outwardly. And she says, "Keep it. It's yours. Don't forget your place, Hector." And she turns and walks past Varys, who takes one last look over the group and then leaves himself. And Daenerys turns to you and says, "Well, you've come to Magterra at an exciting... you've come to Megaros at an exciting time. I do hope that you consider the opportunity that I'm offering."
Anya starts like
First.
tugging at you guys, so we can like leave. She's like trying to scooch towards the door.
All Tony says, "Of course," and bows as low as she thinks is like necessary to be respectful, and no lower, and does it quickly to try and also like exit if possible.
As Altani's dragging Tamir, he's like, "I expect these offers in writing."
Hector gestures for you to step towards the exit after King Varys and Queen Ilia. And as you're exiting, you notice a worried look on Vespera's face. It's the last thing you see before you cross the threshold to where you can hardly see that portion of the concave of the ceiling. And Hector says, "Thank you very much for joining us today. It was a pleasure." And he picks up the spear and says, "Would you care to take this? I have no use for it."
Are there no? I just say, I think that's meant for you.
What?
And I, continue.
He quirks an eyebrow at you, and you can tell that he's uncertain as to whether or not the statement has deeper meaning or not. That perhaps you're playing some political game. And then you can see a noticeable difference in his expression as he's clearly dismissed it as, "Yeah, no, you're just a wilder." He immediately turns. He tosses the spear out into the road and begins walking back in. Do you linger at all, or do you start walking?
No.
I mean, we got to get the heck out of this town. Because these people are crazy.
People are nuts. Confirmed.
The last thing you hear is something about the Senate voting as to who else may lead a military incursion. And the thought crosses your mind that based on your conversation with Ilia, that it is the domain of the king and queen of Megaros to command the armies.
I see. I get what this is about.
And that's where we're going to end for tonight. Thank you so much for joining us for Toss the Dice. We hope you enjoyed the episode, and we'll see you next time.